House. I'm going to start with car stuff because that was a lot of this week. Liz and I think I mentioned, last weekend that on our way up to Vermont, we looked at a Jeep Patriot, a Subaru Forester. The Subaru Forester was sold, I think, on Monday while we were still waiting for the guy to get back to us and tell us what was up with the two accidents. So I'm just going to assume they were terrible accidents and I should feel bad for whoever bought the Forester because if I imagine that it actually was a really good deal, then I'll just be sad. The Jeep Patriot, we decided to pursue that more. Liz took it to a mechanic. The mechanic said that, there was something going on with like the fuel line that was going to probably cost a couple $1,000s to fix. We thought, okay, so let's try to reduce the cost of the vehicle because we weren't really looking at any other vehicles. And then, a couple of things like the tires need to be replaced, the front rotors will need to be replaced at some point in the future. And so she spoke to the seller, and the seller was like, well, we're not going to do anything about the rotors or the tires because they don't need to be replaced right now. The fuel line, well, I don't think that's actually a problem. So they wanted to take it back to their mechanic. Their mechanic looked at it and said, yeah, no, that's actually a problem. But he put down like one of those fluids or something that kind of plugs the holes as it goes through. And he admitted, he's like, I don't know if this is actually going to fix it, but we'll see what happens. And so the agreement we came to with the seller was like, okay, well, we'll take the car. Or we'd like to take the car, but the asking price was $5,900. The Blue Book value is like $6,100, and we are getting it for $5,000, which obviously not as great of a deal as our $1,000 Mazda or our free Nissan Pathfinder, but yeah, a very good deal, all things considering. So the only problem we're running into is we didn't realize that the people we're dealing with, who are up in Poughkeepsie, really don't like the internet. They don't like digital things. They don't like anything that isn't cash, basically. Like, we explained, like, oh, we're doing this through an auto loan. An auto loan, by the way, because I can get an auto loan at 2%, which is way less than, like, my student loans, and this allows us to keep liquid cash on hand for baby emergencies, that kind of stuff, and that's good. So yeah, I was like, well, yeah, we're gonna do this through an auto loan, and they're like, oh, well, can you make it in cash? And it's like, no, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be like a bank check or something. And then they were kind of concerned that like a bank check could be a scam, and then also they wanted us to put down a deposit, and it's like, we'll send you a PayPal deposit. They're like, no, 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 no. So poor pregnant Liz had to drive up there and deposit, or give them like $200 cash, something like that. So hopefully that gets worked out this week. They're also going on vacation soon. So, I mean, we don't need this vehicle right now, but it does take a little bit of the fun out of it. I mean, we're excited. Yay, it's a new car, and I'm going to have to learn to drive a stick shift again, which will be fun and great for our dirt road. So, yeah, that'll all be fantastic. Hopefully it works out this week. Wish us luck. That's some car stuff. Road stuff, yeah, so I can't remember if I talked about this last week. I managed to get a hold of the town supervisor, Richard Shea. We had a long discussion. I asked him all sorts of questions, got a bunch of answers, and he kept saying, like, I'm sorry, it's not good news. And I find, information is so much better than being left in the dark. So even if information is negative information, I'm always grateful to whoever is providing it to me because it just clears things up. And so yeah, he had very little good news. He talked about the history of our road and how these all used to be like hunting summer cabins, and so no one ever worried about what the road would be like during the winter. The way the water system works. We talked about all sorts of different things. A few answers off the top of my head. It's definitely a private road. Definitely a private road. The town has no obligation to maintain it at all. Because it's a private road, we should be able to say no one is allowed on the road who doesn't live on it. No hunters, nothing like that. If we wanted to actually have the road paid for by everyone on the road and make that an obligation, we would need to create some kind of homeowners association or a formal road agreement that everyone signs, or at least enough people sign it to make it feel more official. And then if anyone moves in, to the road like Liz and I did last August, then yeah, they could be compelled to have to pay these things. Like when Liz and I moved into this house, there was a $25 annual clubhouse fee for the clubhouse that I'll be talking about in a minute. That's downtown, where there's like birthday parties and tennis courts and a beach and that kind of thing. And so we are obligated to pay $25 a year to that. And so it is possible for there to be something similar that will compel people to pay a road fee. So that would be really nice and would allow us to feel like the road will always have some level of maintenance. All that being said, oh, and then the water tax thing is just like, yeah, there used to be water pumped up to all the houses on the road. Everyone on the road has their own private well, and yet we still pay, hundreds and hundreds of dollars every year in a water tax. So people are like, what's the deal with that? Like, if we weren't being taxed that, then some of that money could go towards actually fixing the road, which would be great. So there's like a precedent over in Cortland right now. I think I did mention this in another episode where, you know, they were able to get off their sewer tax. So we're hoping we can do something like that. We have to talk to the town water commissioner. The school tax thing, we get taxed at a much higher rate for the local school system than anyone else. No idea why. So that's something we'd have to take up to like the state level. I hope we can do that. That seems like a pretty big project. Would be great to be doing now before we're busy with kids. But yeah, that's going to require a lot of manpower. Democracy, you just need a lot of people who care. So we'll see where that goes. Anyway, so the other big road thing was on Thursday. Had a road meeting over at Lucille's house. This is someone on our road, and she's super sweet. She reminds me of my grandmother, like always trying to be very helpful and serving food, and you know, just wants to be a good host. And she's got a lovely house, and I pretty much there was like, okay folks, here's how we're doing everything related to this road from now on. PayPal. Like, we're just gonna make sure everyone's using PayPal because it's electronic and it's simple, and then we're not running around trying to collect checks from everyone to, you know, pay for plowing. So hopefully everything's settled with that. I emailed it out. I created an account for everyone. Yeah, I think we're good. Road. So more house stuff. Our friend Morgan came up for the weekend. He seems to be our friend who most likes to take advantage of the contrast between the city and the, you know, countryside, so we're always happy to have him. And he was part of the board games we were playing, and we played a little bit of Portal 2. Excuse me, not talking about video games this week, but cool to complete a couple more puzzles in that wonderful game. And then he was great helping to weed the garden. It's kind of cool that, you know, there's still enough time left in the summer season that, just like last year we planted a bunch of stuff when we moved into the house in mid-August, and so we're not even in mid-August yet, and there's still plenty of time for us to pull off another harvest of lettuce, spinach, whatever we want. So Morgan was helping with that. I mowed the lawn a little bit. I was cleaning stuff up on the roof and the gutters, which is great, by the way. The gutters I had growing up were, you know, normal gutters, so they'd fill with leaves and they'd really have to be cleaned. These are covered and have like 3 layers of filters, so it was, you know, took 10 minutes to go across and just wipe everything off. So that was really great. Also, Morgan and I went down to the clubhouse, the townhouse, the little area that you know, I paid $25 a year for, and I went swimming in the water, which is great, a little Cortland town lake. And but before that, the reason I went swimming in the water was because I was super hot and exhausted, because Morgan and I played tennis. Got to use the tennis court. This made me so happy. When Liz and I were first looking at this house, I was like, tennis! I gotta find a tennis partner! It's gonna be amazing. I love tennis. I barely get to play. I got to play it a fair amount in college because, not because I was on the team or anything, but because we lived right by Thorndon Park in Syracuse, which has tennis courts, and Morgan and I played quite a bit. Neither of us are amazing, but we're pretty well matched. Sometimes he wins, sometimes I win, and it's fun. And so Morgan was generous enough to go play tennis with me and take advantage of the court, and it was great. We only had 3 balls. I kind of hurt my wrist trying to catch one of the balls, jumping over a fence. And I was kind of worried, like, this was after the whole disability discussion, and I'm there like being like, oh, I hope I don't injure my arm, but I'm having so much fun. So that was really great to play tennis, then go swimming in the lake, then come home. And then this morning we went to drop Morgan off, and Liz's brother, Aaron, we haven't really seen Aaron since he was living with us. He lived with us for about 7 months last year when he was coming from London to the city trying to find a job, so he was in our Brooklyn apartment, and then was with us for a little over a month after we'd moved into our house here. And so he came up. He's got a cute little English bulldog named Bridget that he wanted to be able to take into the outdoors. We're a little bit worried because she's not like super athletic, and she spends most of her time in the Brooklyn apartment, or New York apartment, big difference, and thought, you know, oh god, it's going to be really hard for her to keep up with us if we like go on a hike or something. But we found this wonderful little lake area, not in Bear Mountain State Park, but whatever, like 15 minutes from our house. That was perfect for like dog swimming and that kind of thing, because there's just a little very shallow drop off. Well, on one side it's shallow, the other side it's very boop boop. And she fell in on the other side actually, and we're like, oh my god, English bulldogs can't swim. And we thought she was just gonna, you know, drop to the bottom, but there she goes, she's swimming. Big, you know, bubbly English bulldog swimming, so that was great. We got Sadie to go in the water. You know, you talk about different parenting techniques. Like, I have a lot of trouble forcing someone to do something they don't want to do, so I would never grab Sadie and like force her to go in the water because that's not something she likes. She doesn't like the water. Aaron feels totally comfortable doing that, and there's a part of me watching him like grab Sadie and force her to go in the water that's like, oh my god, like leave her alone, it's fine. And yet this was kind of a good thing today because the water was warm, it was very shallow, we were all spending time in the water, spending time with Bridget, as a matter of fact, and Sadie gets very jealous, and we actually reached a point where we could call Sadie and get her to come into the water, which was great. Like, it's so nice to see progress like that. So, you know, sometimes sink or swim. That's really it. You just gotta force something to happen a little bit, and it can lead to progress and happiness. So that was great. We then went over to a great place called Vera's in town, where we had some awesome sandwiches. There's like a meat shop there for Aaron. Aaron loves meat. That's the thing with Liz's brothers. And yeah, anyway, that was really lovely. And by the way, this is like my first week really enjoying the new mattress that we bought. And it's really fantastic. Like, I do think I'm sleeping better and deeper. For example, you know, our non-neutered cat was definitely making a lot of sound last night. I didn't notice at all. I slept like a rock. That was great. Speaking of cats, on Saturday, Liz had noticed that there was like a free rabies clinic thing, and it was, you know, hosted by like the Putnam Health Department or something like that. And this thing was so well organized. We took all 4 of our animals, our 3 cats and our dog Sadie, you know, 10 a.m. on Saturday, drove the 15 minutes to get there, is somewhere in Cold Spring, and all these dogs, animals outside. Like, at first I was like, oh, it's gonna be a mess because I hear all this barking and meowing and blah, and no, it could not have been more organized. You go up to the desk, again, everyone's outside, so open air, no one's claustrophobic or dealing with 1,000 animals in one spot. You go sign up on the sheet, you fill out information about your pet's history. If you can prove that they are up to date on their rabies shot, then you can get a 3-year vaccine. If you can't, then it's a 1-year vaccine. And so, you know, we had background information on 2 of our cats. But anyway, you fill out your paperwork, they call your name, you go around back, you go inside, all the shots, bam, 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 and you're done. The whole thing took probably half an hour, which is, you know, way shorter than I would have expected. This was a free clinic, and there were a lot of people and a lot of animals there. There were people bringing in, you know, feral cats from the town to give them vaccines. Fantastic. And yeah, just good stuff. So yeah, now we just got to figure out how to spay our last cat before we get too close to the baby, because I'm not going to be able to deal with babies crying and cats howling, I'll tell you right now.